everybody, welcome to the garage. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton's behind the camera. Gary's here. I have a cold. Well, I did the test, to make sure it wasn't COVID, so you guys can relax. But, it's just going around. Sadly, a lot of people are affected. Be careful. But that's the least of our worries, I think, at the moment. Dr. John Bruni from Sage International was a guest on the show, the Friday show, live streaming around the dining room table last Friday. The burning issue was the dilemma at that time, not that it's not facing him now, but the dilemma facing President Trump, and indeed the people of the world, just how to proceed with the almost universally stated aim to prevent Iran from getting the bomb. Still preferring a diplomatic solution, the President, however, launched 6 B-1 stealth bombers loaded with a total of 12 bunker-busting bombs, these massive things. In fact, they call them, their proper name is the Massive Ordnance Penetrator. Pete, that could be a pop group, couldn't it?
Yeah. Oh, lots of other things.
It could be lots of other things as well. Forgive me, the MOP, Massive Ordnance Penetrator, the MOP. 13,600 kilos of high explosives to end Iran's plan to enrich enough uranium to make at least 1 nuclear bomb, probably as many as 10. Did the President jump the gun? He said, we talked about it last week, I have 2 weeks to think about it. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But perhaps it was the necessity to use the element of surprise. What now? I find it hard to believe that this axis of evil doesn't have a plan B. But we have to remember that going back to medieval times, to the Crusades even, when was that? 1100. Islam is a formidable opponent, fierce, fanatical, ferocious, and their followers are embedded in every country in the world. The world now turns its attention to what havoc and revenge Iran will turn loose on us all. Most likely they'll try to interfere with the global supply of fuel. Firstly, they could block the Strait of Hormuz, through which most of the world's oil flows. It shouldn't affect us much. Only 2% of our fuel comes from the Middle East. Most of it comes from Southeast Asia. Most of our fuel, 98%, something like that. They might try another 9/11. More likely a cyber attack on the Western world, to which we are all vulnerable. Anyway, we'll see. Just on the subject of fuel, thanks to, if I can say thanks to a lack of forward thinking, we only have 58 days of fuel here in Australia in storage. 58 days. And much of that is stored in the United States of America, not here. Locally, it's based basically on day-to-day needs. The international standard, by the way, you might be interested to know, is 3 months. 3 months worth of fuel in local storage. That's the usual standard. But we can be thankful in this dangerous world. Isn't it nice to live in little old Adelaide? Wherever you are watching this program from the garage here in Glen Osmond, little old Adelaide, which has just scored a top 10 place in the global livability index of 2025, whatever that is. All the cities in all the world boasting scores. We are of 100 in healthcare and 100 in education. This is according to Glam Adelaide. I don't know. We think it's a magazine, but I don't care. I'll take it. I can't imagine the scoring so high in the health department when we've got this ramping problem. But anyway, I'll leave it alone. Listen, I must tell you, nearly, going back to the head of the show and catching a cold, 1,000 kids are in a serious condition with this flu virus. 1,000 kids, 7,000 adults. Please get the flu needle. I had it about, 3-4 weeks ago. And of course, the argument is if you don't have the needle, whatever you catch is going to be more serious. At least talk to your doctor. Who would be a politician? Don't know what kind of drives them. I know it's sort of show business for ugly people, but who would be a politician? According to a recent survey here in Adelaide, a poll, the state Liberal leader doesn't stand a chance at the next election. Can you imagine getting up every morning and facing that miserable fact and going to work? In fact, the Libs could be left with as little as 2 seats. 2 seats, which means it wouldn't even be a political party. Peter Malinauskas is on 72% popularity. The Libs, 14. Peter is obviously very popular. Now, I don't know whether Vincent Tarsier can survive. I don't know him well enough to make a comment. But does anyone? I know that he's definitely not cutting through. I'm going to ask him to come on the show next Friday and maybe see a side of him that is a little more decisive and determined, because I think that is what people want. Liberal voters want conservative values, because a lot of Liberal voters are voting for Labor. They don't want Labor light. They may as well have the real thing. But there's no doubt that the Premier, Peter Malinauskas, has pushed all the right buttons. Very acceptable to the community, presentable, articulate, good-looking. You see, if they like you, you can get away with almost anything. Think John Kennedy, for example. If they don't like you, the baseball bats will come out. But this is the point. Peter Malinauskas is a member of the Labor Party. I think maybe even worse than that, I think he's a member of the socialist left of the Labor Party. If you want to vote for Labor, it's more than just one man. Now, admittedly, he's the front man. But if you want a conservative government, let's hear from Vincent Tarsier as to exactly what that might look like. So far, I've got no idea what he stands for. If the polls are right, as I said, the Liberals will end up here in South Australia with only 2 lower house seats, which is the end of them, I would have thought. You know, and he's come out yesterday afternoon. We're recording today's Tuesday posting on Facebook on Monday afternoon. He was asked a very simple question. What are we paying for AC/DC to perform at the motor race? Won't tell us. Well, surely, Vincent, jump on the telephone and get somebody going on the freedom of information to find out, because I don't know how many people. I mean, what am I? I'm 79 years old. I've worked in radio and entertainment all my life. I've never bought an AC/DC record. I've never listened to an AC/DC record. I know nothing about them. I wouldn't go and listen to them at a concert. And yet we might be paying hundreds of thousands or maybe even $1 million to get them here. We should know about that. But anyway, leaving AC/DC out of it. What are the things that divide Liberal from Labor? Well, let's start with this. We're all Australians. Well, not according to Labor. Take Lake Eyre, for example. As we said a few weeks ago, it's teeming with life, birds and fish and colour. God knows where all the birds and the fish come from. But apparently, it was handed over to the Aboriginals a few years ago. They didn't ask me, did they ask you? I doubt it. You see, it's not what the Aboriginals do with the land, the assets, it's what they don't do or allow. They are now warning tourists, photographers. Pete, you would love to be there.
I would.
You know, the pelicans, 1 million pelicans fly in there. It's unbelievable what you see there. Tourists, photographers, sightseers, stay away. That's what we're being told. And they've done this all over the country. This is the work of Labor. That's why I don't like them. I like to be truly inclusive. Everybody the same. Lake Eyre was not theirs, that is the Labor government, to give away. It is ours. It belongs to all of us, black and white. But Labor doesn't see it that way. No, 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 no. And they got away with it. And they continue to get away with it. Oh, by the way, this is interesting. The Bowral Hospital decided to convert part of this new hospital into a yarning room. Well, look, I could understand that in Alice Springs or Tennant Creek. I could, Northern Territory, I don't know. Here in Adelaide, yes. This yarning room is for Aboriginals only, not white people, just Aboriginals. That is racist. This conversion of this area was at a cost of $250,000. Now, in that neck of the woods, up in the highlands of New South Wales, this is a, oh God, I don't know what you'd call it, but your average property, because they don't have homes up there, they're properties. Alan Jones lived up there for a while, and a lot of these properties regularly sell for between $25 and $35 million. Now, in that neck of the woods, Aboriginals would be about 0.01 to 0.03% of the population. The signs in the emergency and exit areas of this hospital in Bowral are written in the Aboriginal language. This is nonsense, because number one, there is no written Aboriginal language. Now this, Vincent Tasia, is something you could perhaps zero in on. Maybe a pledge to get rid of woke. Have you thought about it? Jim Chalmers was the guest at the National Press Club on Wednesday last week. It didn't take him long to start on the budget. I have an appetite for reform, he said. An appetite. Regulation and red tape. We will ask every department to see what can be cut. No ruling in or ruling out. Everything is on the table. Wow. Heck, that sounded pretty promising, I thought. That's fantastic. Coming from Labor? Wow. Then he came to the point. Through tax and the taxpayer, we must repair the budget. Sir, who damaged the budget? It wasn't the taxpayer. Why do we carry the can? It was your stupid government spending. You did it, you fix it. Here's a thought. Spending is growing here in Australia, federal government spending by 6% a year. Why? Cut your spending and start today. And if you want to talk to me about that, I would love to think that you care, that you give a damn about this sort of stuff. And I know you might be watching this in some far-flung part of the world, I don't know. But if you're around in Australia, please call me 0491 65 68 60. On Friday morning we'll be around the dining room table for 3 hours live streaming. JeremyCordeaux.com, you can go to that anytime you like. We put the old episodes on and you can watch those in, I don't know, sequence I suppose. But there are quite a few in there now. A case which will probably end up in the American Supreme Court. Several counties. I don't think they're suburbs. Anyone here been in America? Or how big is a county?
Same as it is here.
Okay, well, several counties have decided that it is unconstitutional for schools to display the 10 Commandments in the classroom, which I'm told is quite common, and a practice with which I would agree. A collection of words which you might say were the very essence of the beginning of law. We can't have our children subjected to the 10 Commandments. Do you believe this? Regardless of the good intentions, the logic? No. To display the 10 Commandments in the classroom is to violate the Constitution and the separation of powers. The powers that separate church and state. Looking at the United States of America, they should put the 10 Commandments up on every damn lamppost. And what is really behind this? If a child, if someone who's an atheist, an agnostic, someone who is Hindi or Buddhist or Muslim, is going to be offended or feel not included, so bloody what? It's the United States of America. Don't be there. America was broadly founded on Christian fundamental principles, values and beliefs. The Pilgrims, the Pilgrim Fathers, the Mayflower, all of that stuff. Do you reckon if you went to India, Africa, China, any Islamic country in the world, do you believe they would let you come in and rearrange the furniture? Tell them what they should do and couldn't do in their own country? You'd get very short shrift. These people in the US must be mad. Yes, there are threats from without, but we pride ourselves here in the garage in the court of public opinion that we don't do edits. But, you know, I just had to have a coughing fit then. And it gives me a chance to remind you that we are here with the best wishes of the Rising Sun Inn, as we are every week, 60 Bridge Street, Kensington, 83330721. Grant and Jackie will look after you very well. The Rising Sun, regularly chosen as the best pub or inn in South Australia, built back in 1845, lots of atmosphere and warmth and cosy open fires. And whether you're having a private dinner, family lunch, product launch, a wedding reception. I love the art that he has in there. I don't know where he gets the art from, but artists come along and regularly display their stuff in the Rising Sun. It's beautiful atmosphere. And also, speaking of art, Jim Elder Fine Art in Melbourne Street, North Adelaide, 106 and 110. Speaking of beautiful buildings, you can talk to Jim or his lovely wife Helen on 8267-2869. Now, they have 4 or 5 big auctions a year. Now, these are auctions that sell all over the world. So if you have a painting which you would like to sell, it could be a very notable painting. It could be something from a very notable artist. Or maybe you don't even know who it is who painted that beautiful work of art. that you may love, you may not love. But if you want to turn it into money, the best way to do it is to talk to Jim Elder. Jim Elder. Now, do join us on Friday, 0491 65 68 60, jeremycordeaux.com. And you can get the app, which I must check because it was down, I think, last week or the week before, which is Simple Radio. You go to Simple Radio, if you've got that app, and you just Google or whatever. What do you do, Pete? You Google?
Google.
So you just Google the Court of Public Opinion or jeremycordeaux.com, and you'll get it. And it's clear as a bell everywhere, absolutely everywhere. I wonder why we have a letterbox. I was thinking about this the other day. A letterbox. You wouldn't have a house, would you, without a letterbox, or an apartment? Everyone had a letterbox. When was the last time you got a letter? Huh? You guys?
A fine for speeding.
Oh, well, they'll find you. Australia Post is struggling, so what do? They put up the cost of stamps. Right. That'll fix the problem. A postage stamp will cost you $1.70. $1.70. Do they think that will attract new customers?
Meanwhile,
funny world,
says Stephen Cordeaux, meanwhile, they're making a fortune out of boxed
packages. Yeah. Well, do you try to get those into a letterbox?
Everyone has tried at least once.
No. Now,
we have a letterbox so that the politicians can deliver numerous quantities of propaganda to us.
Oh, that's true.
And it's
well, they wouldn't want to do away with letterboxes.
for them to do it.
No, electoral material, it's called.
Thank you.
We were promised a warm winter. Well, why is it so cold? Where's the media to ask that question? Speaking of chilly, in Tasmania, they were stripping off, just this last weekend, believe it or not, stripping off and going into the water to celebrate the shortest day of the year, the winter solstice. Oh, my God.
The age of the demographic was significant.
Older or younger? Older. I don't understand that.
There's nothing there that would really...
Well, when you get to be older, you should have some marbles and some common sense. In England, it's very different. Thousands of people congregated around Stonehenge. Now, I don't know how many of those people were Druids, but the history is there. It goes back thousands and thousands of years. Nobody quite knows how or who built Stonehenge. But there on the longest day of the year, a big ceremony with the summer solstice. If you've been to Stonehenge, maybe you'll call me on Friday and tell me.
Many times.
Okay, you've been there.
Many times.
Talk to me about it Friday. 0491 65 68 60. 38,700 new jobs created according to the latest job figures, which came out late last week, Thursday I think it was. The unemployment rate holds steady at 41 or 4.1%. Oh gee, 41%, that could give them a shock. 4.1%. Full-time jobs on the increase, which I guess speaks very well for business confidence. Well, after the little kerfuffle internationally that we've had in Iran, we'll see about that. Some housing figures out as well. Prices are predicted to rise $120,000 in the next 12 months. Difficult to get into the market, but well worth it if and when you can. Now, because bullying is getting so bad, I was bullied at school. I think everybody's been bullied at school.
Is that because you were such good looking?
Oh, God, no. I was bullied. Pete?
Could it be the voice alone?
Yeah, I think everyone gets bullied. It's sort of rite of passage stuff. Schools in Victoria are taking the lead. They want to teach kindness. How do you teach kindness I thought it might be something you'd learn from home.
Certificate 1, Certificate 2, Certificate 3.
I don't know.
I'll work it out.
Leo Tolstoy said some interesting things about kindness. He said, the more intelligent a person is, the more he discovers kindness in others. Tolstoy went on to say, nothing enriches the world more than kindness. It makes mysterious things clear, difficult things easy, and dull things cheerful. But can you teach kindness? Should you have to teach kindness?
Only by example.
Yeah, well, that's what comes from home, I reckon. It should be instinctive, spontaneous. Is it empathy? Call me Friday, 0491 65 68 60. Yes, I am spruiking phone calls for the show. Jeremy Cordeaux live streaming. And I also like what he said on happiness. Tolstoy, I mean. He said, seize the moments of happiness, love and be loved. That is the only reality in the world. All else is folly.
Carpe diem.
I love it. I love it. Here's a folly we can avoid. Santos is facing or embracing a $36 billion Abu Dhabi takeover bid. Amazing that we're even considering it. Should we lose another asset like this to an overseas investor? Turns out that it's a venture capitalist with the state-owned Abu Dhabi oil company. Santos is the largest company in South Australia. It's the last major company to be head officed in Adelaide. I remember when just about every big company had its head office here. Then slowly, one by one by one, we lost them all. News Limited had its worldwide headquarters here in Adelaide. And we lost, along with these companies, our corporate prestige and clout. Abu Dhabi Oil say, oh, no. Head office will stay there. But that's what they all said. Energy security is vital in this uncertain world. In the national interest, this government should forbid it to be sold. They shouldn't allow it to be sold. What else is around? How much time have we got, Pete? $100 million for a state government proton therapy unit. I don't know if you've heard about this, but hang on. It's cost us $100 million. No protons, no therapy, no patients. What's going on here? Are all the journalists asleep? Or have they kind of fallen under Malinowski's spell? I have no idea, but nobody seems to be curious about it. Just one more. The University of Waterloo, which is in Ontario in Canada, has introduced a new course. Wow. It's called Adulting. Adulting 101. Pardon me, what's happened to parenting? This generation of kids, and my youngest is 25, but these are the kids 18 to about 25, don't know the basics. You get to that age and you don't have any life skills? Believe it or not, the course will cover how to cook a meal, iron a shirt, how to change a tyre, sew on a button, times tables on the back of every exercise book I grew up with, basic bookkeeping, budgeting, balancing your checkbook, how to read a basic profit and loss. Have we reached a point where kids can grow up with virtually no survival skills or general knowledge? Now, that is the most cutting indictment of the education system that I have read about. But it shouldn't all be, the blame should not all be given to the education system. These are things that we learn from our mum and dad, day-to-day life. At school, they used to have a class, I remember, called Home Economics. There was another basic but very useful course, which I did, which was called Business Principles. Why were they dropped? Somebody probably decided that business didn't have any principles.
And ethics.
Oh, ethics, that's important as well. I think, before I lose my voice entirely, I'll come over here, grab my glasses and say happy birthday to you, or happy wedding anniversary. If you're having a celebratory kind of day, I hope it's been a really nice one, and it ain't over yet. Oh, no, have it for the whole week. Come on. June 24, 1963. 1963 was a very good year. Very good year for Thunderbird motor cars. Music.
Triumph TR4s.
Time trial, yeah, all of that.
The first MGB with the pull door handle.
Yeah. The first demonstration of the home video recorder. No one had ever seen anything like this before. 1963, on this day, the first demonstration of a home video recorder. Took a long time for that to get out there in the public domain. Crystal Gale releases best-selling album, We Must Believe in Magic, featuring the worldwide hit, Don't It Make Your Brown Eyes Blue? Gee, I remember I had an interview with Crystal Gale, and Paul Linkson, the general manager of the station, he called me up to his office after I came off the air, and he said, "That was the worst interview I have ever heard in my life." It did teach me a lesson, not about interviewing, but it taught me a lesson as I went on later in life to be in his position. You just don't do that. I can't remember the interview, but you don't do that, really. The outcome is never what you want it to be. So
Molly Meldrum got away with it for years.
What, bad interviews? Oh, yeah.
But it actually became his signature.
No, but Paul didn't like country music, you see. Paul hated country music. The first edition of first exhibition of Pablo Picasso. He was only 19 years of age in Paris. 1901 was the year. This was the day. Pablo Picasso was on his way. Fred Hoyle, English astronomer, proposed steady-state universe theory, coined the phrase the Big Bang. Born in England, died 2001, born this day in 1915. Not to be confused with that other Hoyle, the according to Hoyle guy who came up with all of the rules for games in his life. 1509, Henry VIII is crowned King of England. On this day, Adolf Hitler begins a month-long prison sentence for parliamentary paramilitary operations. He riles against the Jewish sellout of the German community to the Bolsheviks on this day in 1922. So he did serve some time. Not a lot. Most would say not enough. Christie's auction house in New York conducts a sale of 100 of Eric Clapton's guitars. 1999, it was all to benefit a charity called Crossroads. The Soviet Union blockades West Berlin by stopping access to road, rail and water. 1948. Gee whiz, yep. On this day, Mary Pickford becomes the first female star to get a $1 million contract. That was this day in 1916. God, that could be equivalent to $100 million today. France signs an armistice with Italy during World War II, 1940. British Prime Minister David Cameron resigns after the UK votes to leave the EU. He wasn't in favour of that, but he had the integrity to say, well, I can't leave the country if I'm not doing what you believe I should be doing. That's integrity. I don't find many politicians who resign on integrity grounds. 2016, Jeff Beck, English Grammy Award-winning rock star, guitarist, Yardbirds, the Jeff Beck group, born Wellington, Surrey. He died. I didn't know he died. 2023. The hit I used to play back in 63 up at the old 2GF in Grafton was a thing called Hi-Ho Silver Lining. Anyone remember that? Hi-Ho Silver Lining. Jeff Beck. He was born this day in 1944. He's just 1 year older than me. And this, I'll leave you with this. Women drive for the first time in Saudi Arabia after they lift the ban. 2018. That was just yesterday. 2018. 2018. And all those women, university students who are out there demonstrating in favour of Palestine and Iran and God knows what. You'll probably see it on the news day after day after day. Do they know? If you're going to demonstrate, why don't you demonstrate for women and the suffering that women have to endure in some parts of the world?
Greta's just bought her ticket. She's on her way.
Oh, I don't think Greta's going to head to Saudi Arabia or anytime soon, to an Islamic country. Anyway, we got to go. Thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate your time. We'll look forward to your company on Friday morning. 9 o'clock, live streaming to the world, jeremycordeaux.com, and we'll be back with another. I'll be in better voice come next week. Next Tuesday for another posting on Facebook and on the podcasting through your favourite, wherever you get your podcasts from. We will be there. Jeremy Cordeaux's Court of Public Opinion. Thank you for viewing the show. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Thanks, guys. Bye for now. Please, don't ignore the threats from within.